Hello and welcome to RMU Live. I'm Isabella Harris.
And I'm Nick Evans.
The government shutdown continues in its 37th day as House Democrats still have not come to an agreement with the flight cancellations now on the horizon.
Pressuring talks to reopen the government, Senate Majority Leader John Thune expressed his determination on Thursday to move ahead with a new bipartisan package of funding bill.
It is a renewed effort to win over enough Democrats and end the shutdown. Although some Democrats say the fight isn't over until Republicans and President Donald Trump agree to extend the health care subsidies that expire in January. Speaker Mike Johnson made it clear on Thursday morning that he won't make any commitment to Democrats. When asked if he could promise a vote on the health care bill, he stated, quote, "I'm not making any promises to anybody," end quote.
President Donald Trump is growing impatient with the ongoing government shutdown, now calling for the filibuster to be scrapped. Republican leaders have rejected this demand as they look towards the long run, not wanting to let the Democrats gain any leverage in legislation. Let's listen to what Trump had to say from the White House.
The biggest thing is the filibuster. We have to get the country going. We will pass legislation at levels you've never seen before, and it'll be impossible to beat us. By the way, if they do, they're going to do it anyway, and they are going to immediately do the filibuster.
As the government shutdown has continued, Donald Trump has blamed the impasse for the Republican Party's defeat in this week's elections.
U.S. airlines have begun canceling hundreds of flights Thursday due to the Federal Aviation Administration's order to reduce traffic at the country's busiest airports starting Friday because of the government shutdown.
This comes right before a busy holiday travel season coming up. Let's send it over to Karen Kafa with the latest.
As the blame game continues on Capitol Hill,
we will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people.
We're just not going to have that conversation while Democrats are holding the federal government hostage.
The next shutdown pressure point could be the nation's airports. The Trump administration says starting Friday, it will cut 10% of air traffic at 40 busy U.S. airports if the shutdown continues. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy told Fox News Thursday it's a safety measure.
This was not a political decision. This was a data-driven decision to make the right calls, to get ahead of any issues that could happen, in the airspace that could have negative consequences.
As essential workers, air traffic controllers are required to be on the job, but are getting their second empty paycheck of the shutdown next week.
These are real people dealing with real life circumstances, and when you don't pay somebody for 37 days and say, hey, just keep showing up and do your best, people are going to have issues, and they're mounting daily.
More than 5 weeks into the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, air travelers have already seen delays mount.
As a traveler, it's very inconvenient for me, but if you're not paying people right, I completely understand.
Some airlines waiving flight change fees ahead of possible disruptions. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture revised its guidance on SNAP benefits for November, giving some recipients a boost to their partial payments, but still not the full benefit they rely upon. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
The flight cancellations are expected to keep climbing in the 40 airports selected by the FAA. Local travelers will be relieved looking at the list as Pittsburgh has not been listed among cities with airports affected by traffic reductions. This reduction, which is being implemented to help maintain safety, leaves many Pittsburgh travelers wondering if the city's airport will be next on the list that has included most major cities. Controllers have been working mandatory overtime 6 days a week during the shutdown, a very heavy burden that will continue to weigh on airport staff until a resolution occurs.
Earlier this week, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro announced his administration secured a commitment from utility companies that they would not shut off heat or electricity in November for homes that are eligible for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program amid the federal government shutdown. They additionally added that once the federal government shutdown ends, Pennsylvania's Department of Human Services will get the funding for LHEAP and will start accepting applications. Negotiators are seeking a deal on a lifelong overdue Pennsylvania state budget. The progress made on Election Day came and went as they tried to push a similar bill without success. The 2025-26 fiscal year started on July 1st, and without a budget in place, billions of dollars in payments have not been distributed to schools, counties, and other entities. They have reportedly been furloughs, hiring freezes and program cuts in each of the past 4 years. The state budget has not been finished by June 30th deadline.
Supreme Court justices raised doubts on Wednesday over the legality of President Trump's tariffs. Conservative and liberal justices alike have questioned about whether a 1977 law meant for use during national emergencies gave Trump the power he claimed to impose tariffs, or whether this was an intrusion on the powers of Congress. One argument from conservative Chief Justice John Roberts, in defense of the administration, stated that the tariffs are, quote, the imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress. The tariffs could add up to trillions of dollars in revenue for the United States over the next decade. This major test of Trump's power has big implications for the global economy and is one many businesses affected will be keeping an eye on.
Giant Eagle has opened its newest market district location in Pittsburgh's East Liberty neighborhood. The store said it aims to redefine the grocery experience with a, quote, compact footprint design to deliver an elevated food-first environment, blending convenience with culinary inspiration, end quote. While it officially opened yesterday, celebrations will continue throughout the weekend with an in-store product sampling and celebrity guest appearances, including Michael McHenry, Charlie Batch, and Tyler Kennedy on Saturday.
Well, it's a rainy day here in Moon Township, and we are inching ever closer to Thanksgiving. Let's send it over to Sarah Krim for more information on this week's weather.
Thanks, guys. I'm Sarah Krim, and I'll be giving you your weather updates today. We're going to start off with today's forecast. So it's going to be a high of 63 degrees and a low of 47 degrees. The chance of precipitation is pretty high at 69%, and the humidity is at 60%. Moving on to today's overall forecast, it's going to be rainy at 3 p.m. and 60 degrees, and it's going to stay that way at 6 p.m. Again, rainy, 60 degrees. 9 p.m. it is going to get a little bit chillier at 57 degrees, but it is still going to be raining. If you're planning on going out, make sure to have your raincoat or an umbrella. And then moving on to tomorrow's forecast, it's going to be a high of 57 degrees and a low of 43 degrees, and the chance of precipitation is going to be lower than today at 24%. Humidity is going to be 75%. That's today and tomorrow for you. Make sure to keep on watching for the upcoming forecast. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sarah. Gotta love that cold November rain. Don't forget your raincoats and umbrellas if you leave the house this afternoon.
And don't go anywhere as we bring you news on the son of a former Pittsburgh mayor as he follows in his father's footsteps.
Also, what New York's mayoral-elect had to say in response to President Donald Trump's in a recent speech.
And later, a breakdown of the first trailer for the upcoming Michael Jackson biopic coming to the silver screen. So stay tuned on RMU Live.
The death of George Floyd, who died in police custody Monday night.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation. It's going to take more than just us, as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to help us make a change, because it just can't be us.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to RMU Live as we bring you breaking news.
As the back and forth continues in the fight for SNAP benefits after a judge ordered the Trump administration to distribute November's full monthly benefits by today. Now the Trump administration is asking a federal appeals court to block the order. We will continue to follow this evolving story.
As Pennsylvania retains Supreme Court justices this past Tuesday, Democratic Justices Christine Donahue, Kevin Dougherty, and David Welch will retain their seats on the state highest court. Conservatives targeted the justices for supporting pandemic-era business shutdowns and voting to change the state's congressional map. Supporters, including Shapiro, have stressed the point that the justices will protect abortion access.
Democrat Corey O'Connor was elected to be mayor of Pittsburgh on Tuesday night. O'Connor, the son of former Pittsburgh Mayor Bob O'Connor, defeated Republican nominee Tony Moreno. Speaking to hundreds of supporters at a Southside election night party, the Democrat said it was time to, quote, create opportunities for our kids, prioritize safety in our neighborhoods, and facilitate responsible development. O'Connor plans to announce key staffing decisions in December before his induction as the city's 62nd chief executive in January.
Democrats sweep Pittsburgh in Allegheny County Council races. Republican Erin Copper came up short in her bid to end Democrats' dominance over Pittsburgh City Council. Pittsburgh City Council hasn't had a Republican member in about a century. The results are hardly surprising given the political makeup of the represented areas. Additionally, all the council districts up for election this year have a Democratic voter registration leaning.
Zoran Mamdani has won the New York City's election race for mayor. Mamdani, a 34-year-old Democratic socialist, beat former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Republican Curtis Sliwa was also running against Mamdani. Here's what Mamdani had to say after his victory in Brooklyn.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
The Democratic nominee attracted a diverse coalition of supporters to propel his campaign through his focus on working-class issues and his personal magnetism. Mamdani's victory, which was once seen as a long shot, marks a major Democratic victory.
Former Democratic Representative Abigail Spanberger defeated Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Searson. Virginia's governorship election on Tuesday, Spanberger initially came onto the political landscape in 2018 when she ousted former Republican Representative Dave Bratt in the state's 7th congressional district. She served in Congress from 2019 to the beginning of 2025. She centered her campaign heavily around economic and affordability issues, as well as public safety and her support for abortion rights.
Democratic Representative Mikey Sherrill won the New Jersey governor's race this week, defeating Republican Jack Chatterley. One of Sherrill's main points against Chatterelli, was how he would be used as a pawn of Donald Trump instead of doing what is best for New Jersey residents. Trump made a large gain in voters in New Jersey for this year's election, but now Democrats hope Sherrill's victory is a sign that the state will remain firmly in their control. Sherrill was boosted in the race by multiple Democratic allies, including former President Barack Obama.
California voters have approved redistricting, and it is aimed at configuring the state's voting districts to give Democrats better chances at taking 5 House seats for Republicans during next year's midterm elections. This leaves many to wonder if it'll tip the balance of power in Washington, D.C. Currently, Republicans hold a small 5-seat majority in the 435-member House of the Representatives of the lower chamber of Congress.
As the elections for 2025 have now ended and the Democrats have secured key wins, leaders from both parties have weighed in on the results. Let's hear what they have to say.
It has been very interesting to us to see all the pundits trying to spin the results of the election on Tuesday. There were no surprises on Tuesday night, okay? You had blue states and blue cities that voted blue, to the alarm of no one, to the surprise of no one. That was what was expected.
What about...
While Republicans claim that the election results are not surprising, voters took to the polls worried about the current economic state of America. Now, with a Democratic wave sweeping over the major elections this week, many are wondering if this is a sign of voters regretting their decisions last November. We have Josh Woodman giving us the latest on this. Josh?
Thank you, Nick. So with election night being Tuesday, we're going to look at the November results of the AP NORC poll and look at a little bit of breaking down why the voters may have voted why they did. Starting off with Trump's approval ratings. Currently, the president sits at a 55.1 disapproval rate compared to a 42.1 approval rate. That is down 15.3% from January and also down 13% in the net total. Now, a big factor in the 2024 election was race and the vote from African Americans and Latinos. And so starting with the white vote, currently 50% of white voters view Trump unfavorably compared to 48% who view him favorably. And then to the African American pollers, we have 66% of African Americans view Trump unfavorably compared to an 18% who view him favorably. And then finally, the Latinos vote, who is 65% unfavorable compared to a 25% favorable view on the president. Now, to the presidential job as a whole, and specifically about the way the current administration is ran rather than Trump himself, currently the administration, sits at a 61% disapproval rate compared to a 37% approval rate. Now, to some of the key issues, starting with economy. Currently, 56.8% view the economy as being ran poorly right now. They disapprove of the way it's trending compared to a 39.2% approval rate. The current administration was below 30% last January, meaning it's been a huge swing in the negative for the Trump administration. Now to another key factor in votes during the 2024 election, and that was immigration. Currently, people are 50% disapproving of the way the current administration is handling immigration, and then 45.6% approve the way it is being handled. That is the tightest margin out of all the key issues. And then let's take a look at a more broad view of it in the net approval ratings. And as we see here, a lot of them have taken downward slides. Starting with immigration, like we mentioned, it is the slimmest out of them all, only being down negative 4.9. But then you have economy and trade and inflation, all of whom have taken gradual slides downwards for the administration, with a 17.6% for economy and trade, and then a negative 29.9% of inflation. Now, as we look at the way the country is being ran as a whole, the direction of the country, among U.S. adults, 69% disapprove the way the country is moving compared to the 30% who view it being ran in a positive direction. Now, that is all we have from this month's polling ratings. Again, some of these have shifted based on the way the election results have become, and we'll see what those continue like into next month. I'm going to send it back to Nick and Isabella.
Thanks, Josh. If these poll numbers continue to turn in the favor of blue, upcoming elections could continue to swing in the Democrats' favor.
Former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi announced she will not be seeking a re-election to the U.S. House. Pelosi, who has represented San Francisco for nearly 40 years, made the announcement on Thursday. She stated she will finish out her year in the office this final year. When asked to make a comment on her retirement, President Trump had a few things to say. Let's take a look. His reaction was not surprising to many, but as always, the two have butted heads. The cards are still in play to see how Speaker Pelosi will finish out her final term.
Well, as we just saw, a UPS plane crashed at Louisville's International Airport on Tuesday, causing an explosion and dangerous fires surrounding the crash site. As of Thursday, at least 13 people are dead, multiple are injured, and several people are still missing. The plane, which was headed to Honolulu, Hawaii, was built in the early 1990s. The fire spread easily to nearby facilities, and it took more than 100 first responders around 6 hours to get the flames under control. The cause of the crash is unknown, and the investigation, which reportedly could take a year or more to complete, is ongoing.
November is Epilepsy Awareness Month. 2.9 million adults and 46,000 children in the United States are affected by the disease. The Director of Outreach at Epilepsy Association of Western and Central PA, Andrea Zonneveld, shared important information regarding the disease.
Epilepsy is a neurological condition that's characterized by recurring seizures. So that means it's a medical condition that has to do with your brain, and it causes a person to experience seizures. A lot of what you want to do is based in common sense. You want to move things that can hurt them out of their way. You should turn them on their side. This helps ensure that they can continue breathing. Loosen tight clothing that might restrict their breathing. One of the most important things that you can do is get an accurate measure of how long the seizure lasted. Generally speaking, if a person has a convulsive seizure that lasts longer than 5 minutes, we treat that as an emergency. There is one misconception about seizure first aid.
It's important to keep these in mind for those who suffer from epilepsy.
Well, coming up next, the latest scandal in sports as a former NFL star was extradited as he faces felony charges.
And how the RMU men's basketball team surprised their fan base through the courage of their long-awaited season opener.
Most recent game following a disappointing loss and where they are going next, here on RMU Live.
Do you want to meet a family with a transgender kid? Here we are. Max loves to do backflips. Max loves to play his ukulele. Max loves to just be a kid and just be himself. When I found out I was pregnant, all I really wanted was a happy, healthy, whole child. And that's what I got. I think it's really important for people to know that trans kids don't have a political agenda. They are just kids. Like any parent, we love our kids unconditionally, and we will never stop fighting for them. Stand with us. Protect our families.
Wait! Not in the toilet!
No, don't do that. No.
Don't hit your brother! Ooh!
Not again!
I tell you about playing in the mud.
Raffy, not so close to the pool. Wait!
Frankie, happy. What are you doing? We told you never to touch the gun!
I'm sorry, I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
You could have hurt yourself!
Safely store your guns. Unload, lock, and away from ammo.
Welcome back to RMU Live as we take a look at the latest news in the world of Pittsburgh sports.
But first, former Steelers defensive end Antonio Brown arrested on attempted murder charges, extradited to the United States. Brown was taken into custody in Dubai by U.S. Marshals and flown to Essex County. The arrest warrant issued by June alleges Brown grabbed a gun from a security staffer after a post-fight and fired twice at the man he had brawled with prior. The case now shifts to Miami, where prosecutors will decide how to proceed once he's in local custody.
And another tragic story recently as Dallas Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Kneeland died early Thursday morning from an apparent suicide after a police chase. The 24-year-old fled from police after he was stopped for a traffic violation, a chase that ended in troopers finding Kneeland's abandoned car involved in a crash. Kneeland fled the scene on foot, but was found by police with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police had reportedly received information that night that Marshawn was expressing suicidal ideas, but it is unclear who that was from. Jonathan Persley, Marshawn's agent, released an emotional message honoring Kneeland with one line of his social media post reading, quote, "To lose someone with Kneeland's talent, spirit, and goodness is a pain I can hardly put into words," end quote. Marshawn was drafted by the Cowboys out of Western Michigan in the 2024 NFL Draft.
Again, just so unfortunate to hear. Now let's send it over to Joey Dramasic with sports.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to Sports with yours truly. So let's get right into it, shall we? The Colonials are in for a busy weekend, so let's take a look at what's ahead. Women's hockey hosts Mercyhurst for a weekend series at the top of the hour, with women's basketball hosting Akron tonight, and volleyball and men's hockey starting their weekend series tonight as well at 7 p.m. Tomorrow, football takes on Wagner at home at noon, and upcoming for the Colonials is the Horizon League quarterfinals for the men's soccer team versus Milwaukee. On Monday, the men's basketball team hosts Geneva College for their home opener, and on Thursday, women's basketball is on the road to take on St. Francis, with the men's team hosting Pitt Greensburg at 7 p.m. Now let's take a deeper dive into some sports, starting with the reigning Horizon League champions who started their season against the Iowa Hawkeyes. As many expected, this one did not go in favor of the Colonials as they suffered a 101-69 loss to start their season. Former Colonial and Horizon League Player of the Year, Alvaro Filgares went for 11 points and 5 rebounds against his former team. Last night in Iowa, the Colonials took on the Drake Bulldogs, and after a tight game down the stretch, the Colonials held off Drake in an 81-79 overtime win. Player of the game for the Colonials was Nicholas Chidakousis, who had his first double-double for the Colonials, scoring 18 and grabbing 10 boards as well. Coming up next for the Colonials is their home opener on Monday at 7 p.m. as they take on Geneva College in high hopes to secure their second win of the season. Now over to the hardwood, but for the women's team, who also started their season this week, but kicked things off with a strong performance on Monday for CYC. The Colonials took control in the second quarter, which helped them secure their 78-63 win. Pitt transfer Aslam Malcolm shined in her Bobby Miller debut, scoring 26 points, knocking down 4 threes in her 30 minutes played to get the season started off to a hot start for Coach Chandler McCabe's squad. The women's team takes on the court tonight with it being their home opener as they take on the Akron Zips. Last matchup against the two teams ended in an RMU victory, 59-53. Tip-off for the home opener for the Colonials is at 6 p.m. tonight. Now over to the pitch. The men's soccer team wrapped up the regular season on Monday in great fashion with a 3-0 win. Kose Ude, Victor Koa, and Anasa Dran were the goal scorers to help the Colonials end the regular season off with a win and their first road Horizon League win of the season. As a result of the win, the Colonials clinched a spot in the Horizon League tournament. They will take on the 4-seed Milwaukee Panthers on the road in Wisconsin at 2 p.m. Winner will either take on Cleveland State or Purdue-Fort Wayne in the semifinals on Wednesday. On the gridiron, the RMU football team took down the Stonehill Skyhawks, this past week 20-17. In the victory, Ethan Shine rushed for 122 yards on 28 carries, and as a result, Shine was named NEC Offensive Player of the Week. The win improves the record to 3-6 on the season, and for this week, the Colonials return home at nearly a month away from the Joe. They take on Wagner, who are also coming to the game at 3-6. Kickoff is set to be tomorrow at noon for the Colonials looking for their 4th win of the season. Now over to some Pittsburgh sports. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who hosted the Indianapolis Colts for their Week 9 matchup and came out on top 27-20. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers threw for 203 yards and 1 touchdown in the win. In the win, the Steelers forced a season-high 6 turnovers with 3 interceptions and 3 lost turnovers. This week, the Steelers will travel to LA to take on the 6-3 Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Kickoff for the game is scheduled for 8:20 p.m. To finish up, the Pittsburgh Penguins have had a pretty eventful week. The Pens dropped both their games on Saturday and Monday, but got back to their winning ways last night with a 5-3 win over the Washington Capitals. Russ, Crosby, Mantha, and Dewar were the goal scorers for the Pens in Thursday's matchup. The Penguins are in action tomorrow as they take on the New Jersey Devils in a matchup with the top 2 teams in the Metropolitan Division. Both teams come into the game with 20 points, so make sure to keep an eye out for this matchup, with the start time being listed as 12:30. Well, that's all I have for you, so make sure to tune in next week for your weekly sports update. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Joey. There's a lot to look forward to here at RMU, and things look like they're only going to heat up further.
Right after this break, we're going to take a look at what you might need coming up with your weekly forecast.
And how the new Michael Jackson biopic is looking to eager fans, with the first glimpse at the highly anticipated film.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
Where are they? Shouldn't they be here by now?
Talent's gotta be here, guys. Like, for real.
Oh my god, Nate! Isn't it Thursday?
Oh, crap.
Finally! About time. Finally here. Let's go!
Welcome back to RMU Live.
As the winter weather is slowly creeping in this week, let's send it over to Sarah for the weekly report.
Thanks, guys. Let's get right back into it with the 5-day forecast. So it's going to start off with Sunday. It's going to be rainy with a high of 54 degrees and a low of 31 degrees. And then the rest of the week is going to be partially cloudy. Monday is going to be a high of 37 degrees, a low of 28 degrees. Tuesday is going to be a high of 40 degrees, a low of 35 degrees. Wednesday is going to be a little hotter with a high of 52 degrees and a low of 36 degrees. And then Thursday is going to be a high of 51 degrees and a low of 33 degrees. Don't forget those thick coats. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sarah. You don't want to forget those thick coats at home this week. I know I'm definitely looking forward to some snow this winter.
The biopic of pop legend Michael Jackson is expected to hit theaters late April. Jackson is being played by his nephew Jafar Jackson. The trailer features the famed singer in the studio, including songs with Thriller and Wanna Be Startin' Something.
I know
the
you've been waiting
biopic
a long
will
time for this.
tell the story of Michael Jackson's life beyond the music, tracing his journey from the discovery of his extraordinary talent as the lead of Jackson 5 to the visionary artist whose creative ambition fueled a relentless pursuit to become the biggest entertainer in the world. Thank you for watching RMU Live. We hope you have a great weekend.
And make sure to tune in next week.